Hello and welcome to The Real Beef. I'm Don Keith. Today I have a very special show for you. It's going to be very interesting because I have with me Juliette Bryant. Juliette was kidnapped by Jeffrey Epstein 22 years ago, and she has agreed to come on today in hopes that her story will help other victims who are still waiting for justice. So with that, I'm going to bring Juliette on. Juliette, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks, and you, Don?
Well, I'm
Well,
doing, I'm
I'm
doing,
getting there, as we all are. Often we lie and we say, "Oh, we're fine." That's they say, "How many times do you lie a day?" I'm doing
yeah,
good. But sorry, I
yeah.
don't want
Well,
to slow
I'm
down
glad.
the intro.
I'm glad to hear it. I know we had some problems earlier. You're a little stressed out, and I completely understand. You told me you were a single mother. How's that going? How old's your son, and how are you enjoying being a single mother?
My little boy is 6. His name's
Hmm.
Kai. He's nonverbal, so he's got autism.
Okay.
Kai's the best thing to ever happen to me in my whole life. But
Oh,
yeah, being a single mum can be tough at times, and especially when one's trying to fight demons in the world like Epstein and co. It
yeah.
gets even more
I
trying.
totally understand the single parenting. I did that for a long time, so I'm right there with you. I did see you sent me a picture of your little fella. He's a handsome young man. So congratulations on that.
Nice, Don. Yeah, my little
So
boy's
now,
everything to me.
yeah, they are. Children are wonderful. I wouldn't take anything from mine. That's for sure. Now you're in South Africa, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. How is it there in South Africa? I want to ask you about that because I haven't spoken with any South Africans directly. We hear a lot in the news about white farmers being either evicted or forcibly removed from their property. Some have been killed, according to reports. Have you spoken with any of those? Do you know any folks like that or been involved in that? What can you tell me about that? What's going on right now?
I've seen it in the media,
Mhm.
but I haven't actually met anyone who's encountered that. And that's,
Okay.
why we're actually speaking here is because the media lies. Yes,
Mm.
South Africa is a violent place. You've got to keep your head screwed on. But it seems like America's become even more violent.
Hmm. Yeah. We talked about your business. You're a businesswoman. You're a self-made millionaire, you said, which I found really
Well,
interesting. Tell me a little bit about your business and how you became this successful businesswoman.
well, a lot of people, like, I find it very hurtful when people brand the Epstein girls who were abducted as prostitutes,
Hmm.
because I've never been a prostitute or anything like that. I was taken by those people. It was a very horrible experience. But, as I grew older, my brother actually helped me to start my own business. And I've got
Hmm.
a business called Tangled. It's, I import from China. And,
Hmm.
I'm not just I think people need to know that I'm not just like someone who's been given the settlement money. I already had my own home before that. I'd
Hmm.
already fought to find my way in this world. And luckily, when I was given the settlement money, then I had a chance to step off the hamster wheel and actually try
Hmm.
and help, which is what I've always wanted to do. I spent my whole life wanting to just help. Before I was even taken by Epstein, I just wanted to help people.
What
So,
is Tangled? What is your business? What do you do exactly?
well, I import accessories from China, like
Hmm.
MacBook and iPad accessories, and I used to sell the
Okay.
chargers as well for MacBooks. Yeah.
Okay. Is
So
that is that on is that an online business? Do you have a is it a retail store? How do you operate?
yeah, it's online, but I'm not really focused on my business right now. But I just,
Hmm.
I'm not trying to promote my business at all because it's also a South African business. But I
No,
just
I
wanted,
just find it
I,
interesting that you
it's,
were able to overcome all this adversity and then still become successful. So I think it gives hope to other folks out there who may have been in a similar predicament to you or
yes,
situation to
you're
yours
right.
that they
You're
can
right.
still succeed in life. So I think,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a testament. And I think you're a great example for others who have been in your situation. You
thanks, Tom.
mentioned yeah, yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Jeffrey Epstein. How did you even come to be in the atmosphere, same atmosphere as Jeffrey? How did this all happen, if you don't mind me asking? I'm not familiar with the story.
I don't know at all.
I like to not do a whole lot of research because I like to have conversations with
Yes,
folks. So
sure.
I want to find out for myself from you exactly how it all started and what even how did you even end up in the same sort of vicinity, I guess, as Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, I was studying psychology and philosophy at the University of Cape Town, but I started doing modeling on the side to earn money.
Mhm.
And then one night I was out with a friend of mine, and we got approached by a woman, a girl. Well, I was approached by a girl who said that a man was bothering her, and she said, can my friend and I please help her out, because there's a man trying to like stalk her. And we said, of course, come and speak to us, and we'll keep you safe. And then very soon after that, she told me, oh, are you a model? And my friend from America, Jeffrey Epstein, is here. And no one knew his name at the time, of course. I didn't know I didn't know his name. She said he's here with Bill Clinton. I recognized that name, of course. She said he's here with Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey and Chris Tucker, and he works with Victoria's Secret, and he could really help my modeling career. So, as a young person, it seemed like a dream come true. I was like, wow, I've, met this girl, and she's, going to introduce me to this man who's going to really like make a difference in my life, because I was having a really hard time. My family was struggling financially, as many families do. So we went off to meet them at the at Beluga, because they were staying at the Cape Grace Hotel, but we went to meet them at Beluga, the restaurant where they were having dinner. And then they all stood up during dinner and shook my hand.
Is this taking place in South Africa?
Yeah, in South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'd only just turned 20. I was very young and naive, and I was just like, wow. And also, like, back in the day, people didn't understand how evil these presidents are. It was before the days of internet. It's when people really believed in the politicians who were supposed to protect us.
Yeah.
So, I met them, and then I went, then I left, and then the next day, the same girl called me, and the girl who actually called me, her name's Naja Hill, the girl who scouted me for him, recruited me. Her name's Naja Hill, and she actually became like a Fox News reporter later on. I never saw her again after this, because, a lot of people have asked, like, was she paid money to introduce me to him? I don't know. But
so this Naja Hill was working with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein to sort of bring you into the fold. Is that what I'm hearing? Did I understand that correctly?
I it seems like it. I don't know. I don't like to point fingers or blame anyone, but sure. I do know that she introduced me to them and told me that they could help with my modeling career, and I do know that I was very soon kidnapped by them. So,
wow. So you met Naja, she introduces you to Jeffrey, and then what happens?
Well, then the next day, Naja phoned, and she said that Jeffrey thought I had a lot of potential as a model, and can I please come along and bring my modeling portfolio to the hotel where they were staying. But then she also said that, Bill Clinton's actually giving a speech at a university. Do I want to join in and go watch the speech before the casting? So obviously I thought, wow, definitely want to. So I met them at their hotel, and I got in the bus, and they drove these like small buses along the highway to this lower income university. All the highway was shut off. Police cars came off every ramp. I've never seen anything like it, not even in a movie. And then we got to it was called the Western Cape Peninsula Technikon, the university where they did the speech. It's very much a lower income university where people don't have a lot of money. And Clinton stood up in the hall and gave a speech, and it was like, it wasn't the kind of place you'd imagine to see a president giving a speech. And at the same time, Kevin Spacey sat in front of me on a plastic chair, and he went like this. He had a handheld device, and he went like this, and he filmed. All the students were behind us, like in the background. He went like this, and he filmed everyone. And I was like feeling a bit weird, because I was sitting behind him while he was
Kevin Spacey.
Yes.
Kevin Spacey, the actor. Okay.
Yeah. So he was filming everyone in the hall, and I didn't really realize why, until obviously many years later. It's quite frightening to wonder why they were filming all the students in the hall, especially considering that Kevin Spacey has now been put up as a sex abuser. 3 of his victims were found dead within a year. There were 12 victims for him. I'm sure there are many more, but 3 were found dead in a year. And what does that tell you? It tells you to keep quiet. Much like
the hit list. They talk about the Clinton hit list. Maybe.
Well, look what's happening to the Epstein victim.
Has his own list.
What's happened to Virginia Gifford? and Karen and Adriana.
What do you think about that? Do you think she died under suspicious circumstances, Virginia Giuffre, how you pronounce it?
I find it very, very suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
Because also she had that lady that was living with her. Where was that lady when this happened? Because when they had the bus accident, and that lady was supposed to be looking after her, because she's 41, 42 was, and the lady who was looking after her was a 71-year-old lady who was supposed to be there. So where was she? Because she was there when the apparent bus crash happened. And that's why people say, well, maybe Virginia was put in witness protection program. I really wish that was the case. But if they were going to do that, they would have made it much quicker and clearer and more simple. They're not going to make a bus accident, have a girl crying out for help on Twitter, and then suddenly being found dead. There's a lot more going on here, and it's very, very frightening.
It's very, very, very suspicious to me as well. So I didn't want to interrupt your story. You were
sorry.
Spacey and Clinton.
Now,
this would have been a couple of years, 2 years after Bill Clinton left office. You said 2002, right?
Yeah, I think he left office in 2001, didn't he? I'm not sure, but I know that 9/11 happened in September 2001.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I met them
a
in
year and a
September
half. He would
2002.
have been out of office. That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then they held the modeling casting, and Sarah Killen, Andrea Mitrovic, and another girl, Cindy Lopez, all posed as modeling agents. They looked through my modeling book. And Bill Clinton walked through while they were doing the casting. I mean, it seemed so legitimate, It seemed like a completely legitimate modeling casting, especially having the
what company was the casting for? Was it an agency? Was it a company looking for models?
They said it was for Karen Models.
Karen Models, okay.
Yeah, they said it was for Karen Models, which I've also seen apparently also was Jean-Luc Brunel was affiliated with that agency. Because another weird thing is that when I was 14, I was approached and they tried to take me overseas when I was 14 already. So that was Elite Modeling Agency that they came and they asked me, but luckily my mum and her friend came with me to some modeling casting and they questioned the people. And, my mum said very clearly that I wasn't allowed to go overseas and travel as such a young person.
Yeah. Yeah, the world of modeling. I was in that in my younger years as well. So I'm kind of familiar with how it works and the manipulation of young girls, especially. It's not so much for us guys.
That's for boys too. Believe me, it's for boys, especially.
Yeah, but I don't think I think I think young men are able to protect themselves a little bit more. But yeah, they are still victims. You're not. I think that's much more rampant on the girl side, just from my experience.
Yeah, definitely.
And nobody ever tried to take advantage of me because I was 6'4" and 230 pounds. So it wouldn't have worked out very well for them. Yeah. So,
exactly.
But I understand the business. Trust me.
Yeah, because in the modeling industry, a lot of people are taken advantage of, and it's a frightening industry. And a lot of people are also jealous of models, so they don't have much moral support, from friends and family, because everyone's like, "Oh, fuck you." Yeah, and it's just a very tragic thing that happens to a lot of young people.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Lied to, and
so once you did this casting, then what happened from there?
Well, what happened is then his office started phoning because they left that day. They were only in Africa for 2 days, and then his office started phoning, trying to arrange my visa, and I told it was Leslie Groff from his office because they were getting me over for modeling, and I told them that I don't have money, I can't afford a ticket or anything, and they said no, everything will be paid for, and they will deduct it from they'll deduct all my expenses from my income when I arrive there.
Yeah.
So they arranged me a visa, and within 3 weeks, I was in New York.
And so you're in New York now. Obviously, did you actually do any photo shoots, or did you do more?
They never sent me for any photo shoot. There was never the only photo shoot they ever did was their own personal ones where they tried to photograph me naked themselves. I was never sent to any modeling agency. I was never sent to any modeling casting.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Basically what happened is I arrived at the New York apartment. It was 301 East 66th Street. I thought I was going to be staying there. I've still got my diary from that year. I even packed
Mhm.
my own towel. I really thought I was going to be. I didn't. I was a naive traveler. I
You
didn't
didn't know what
realize
to
when you
expect.
travel,
Sure.
need to bring a towel. Yeah,
Yeah.
I took my towel and everything. And then when I arrived in the New York apartment, the phone rang and it was Sarah Kellen, and she said, "Pack your things. We're going to New York. I mean, sorry, to the Caribbean. Sorry." Yeah. So she said, "Pack your things. We're going to the Caribbean." Because I mean,
Mhm.
I'm telling everything as it was, just that I'm feeling a bit stressed today.
No, I
Because the war.
understand. I understand totally. Yeah, we had that conversation earlier. It happens, especially when you're a single parent. The stress can get you sometimes. It's not an easy job. You try to do the best you can for your kids, and it's just stressful when you're the only one who's there to take care of the kids, especially when you have no family around. I totally understand your situation. Trust me. Um,
It's
so
understanding.
sorry, I didn't mean to digress
Yeah.
here. We were in
No,
New
no.
York. No, it's okay. You
So,
were in New York. You were
so
shuffled
yeah.
off to the Caribbean.
Yeah, so the phone rang and they said, "Pack your things, we're going to the Caribbean." So I was like, I didn't realize I was going to be taken to the Caribbean. They said, "Pack a small bag," because, I had my big bag because I thought I was staying there for 2 weeks. They were like, "Pack a few things, we're going to the Caribbean." And I was I didn't know what to do because I didn't have a phone with me. Phones couldn't roam at that time for people without money. I didn't have a phone. I didn't know what to do. I just also assumed it was maybe for a modeling job.
Hmm.
So the car came back and collected me and took me to the airport, to Teterboro Airport. And then, that's the other thing at those airports. They never check my passport. Whenever you flew with Epstein, your passport was never checked. Nothing was checked. Bags weren't checked. Passports weren't checked. On this first flight where they took me there, my name was left off the flight log. My name was on
Hmm.
other flight logs, but it was left off there. So if I'd gone missing, no one would have known what happened to me. It's like if you
So
don't
wait, hold
comply.
on. Your name was left
Yeah.
off the flight log, but
Yeah.
these everyone's
Just this
so
one.
up in
Only
arms about
this.
these Epstein flight logs. You're telling me they left your name off. How do we not know tons of other people's names were left off those flight logs?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. Because what happened is when the airplane took off, this always makes me so anxious. It's like, oh, Sarah Kill and Andre Mertovich were sitting on the left, and Epstein patted the chair next to him and asked me to come sit next to him.
Hmm.
And as soon as the plane took off, he started touching me forcefully in between my legs.
This is
And I was,
Epstein himself.
yeah, yeah. So I suddenly realized, oh my God, I'm in danger.
Oh,
I suddenly it was like I just fucking realized, sorry to swear. I was like, oh my God, my family might never see me again. These people are going to kill me.
that
That's
was the
exactly
first thought.
what happened. I
That
was
was
like,
the
these
first
people are
time you
going to
had
kill me.
met Epstein was when you got on that plane, and as soon as you got on the plane, he pretty much began molesting you,
I
pretty
met him.
much.
I met him in Cape Town for the casting.
Okay, so you
But,
did meet him.
yeah, in
Yes.
Cape Town, yeah. Because after they looked at my book, they sent me through to see Epstein. Yeah, I met him here. Also he was sitting with Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey having dinner. But it was the first time when I'd actually been close near the man, and he started touching me when the plane took off. And I suddenly realized that it just shattered my dreams and broke my heart. I thought, oh my God, my family are never going to see me again.
And
And in a
was he
way,
the only high
in a
profile
way,
person
they
on?
never did. In a way, they never did see me again because I came back a different person. And that's the horrible thing.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's got to
Yeah,
be
I'm alive.
tough.
I'm alive. But like you say, what about
Yeah.
the people who, if I hadn't, sorry, my hair's such a mess. I feel like such a mess. If I hadn't complied, I would very likely have died. And like you're saying, if my name wasn't on that first flight log, then what about other people who were taken there? Because if they weren't tracking who was being taken there, then they were tracking nothing.
Yeah. Well, I think it says something about your character, though, to be where you are now, to have overcome that sort of adversity. I think it says a lot about you. So I think you can be proud of yourself for coming through. There's a lot of people who don't make it, and you've made it. So,
Well,
yeah,
barely,
that's.
barely, but I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still alive. So
Mhm.
yeah.
So was this the famous Jeffrey Epstein's island they were taking you to?
Yeah. They took me
Okay.
to the island there.
And who else high profile individuals were there? Did you meet any other high
Um,
profile
well,
folks there?
That's another thing, is that they've completely lied, because they say that the girls were being made to have sex with the men and being paid off, and like the girls are being kept quiet. We were all being trafficked by Epstein. Girls were being taken to his room all the time, but I didn't see any girls being made to have sex with any other men. And the only other people I really saw on the island in New Mexico were scientists and Michael Bay. I met Clinton with Epstein in Africa. I never saw Clinton again when I was there.
But you saw Michael Bay on the island, on Epstein.
At New Mexico, I met him, and he
Oh, you met
denies
him
being.
in New Mexico.
Yeah, and he
No.
denies it. And he was there, because Epstein even made us all watch the movie The Rock that night, because he was like boasting that Michael Bay was staying there. And myself and some other victims met Michael Bay in the kitchen.
Okay. The Rock, that's Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. And, Michael Bay made this movie. So, I mean,
Right.
Epstein was boasting about Michael Bay being there. But Michael Bay denied being there, because, when I did an interview with the Daily Beast many years later, I just said that he was there, and they actually reached out to his office, and he said he never met Epstein and never went to any of his properties. But he's clearly lying, because I saw him.
Because you saw him.
And, yeah, he was there. I mean, I saw him in the kitchen. He's a liar. Anyway, I started doing more digging, and then realized also, the movie, the Island, about cloning and all the other weird things that happened. I saw Epstein shapeshift. I mean, I don't want to jump ahead here, because.
Wait, say that again. You saw Jeffrey Epstein shapeshift, you said?
Yes. He turned into
Like how?
I was in the
say that
bedroom.
one more time.
I saw Jeffrey Epstein shapeshift into a devil-like reptilian creature. I want to be lie detected on it. Did you not know
What was
this?
it? No. I did not know that, but no, I did not.
Talk about. Well, do you know what?
No, tell me more, because I hear all about this, the reptilians and the greys and the shapeshifting and all that, but this is.
I saw.
Wow.
So if someone else told me this, I would think they were fucking mad. Sorry to swear again. If someone else told me this, I would think they were mad.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it happened to me, and I saw it. And I swear on my family's life, I swear on everyone and everything I love's lives, that I saw this man turn into something else in front of my eyes.
This was in New Mexico.
It was on the island.
This was in the
Caribbean. Yeah, it was the first time I was taken there. When I was taken into the bedroom, one time when he was, because what happened is he kept calling us to the bedroom, and that's the other weird thing, is that people say he was raped. He couldn't really even, his penis was very small. It was more about sort of trying to.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
I'm
also sorry.
I'm sorry.
It was.
I'm sorry.
It was more about trying to.
I'm so sorry. That strikes me as appropriate, because what other to be such a
little bit of humor always helps, actually, during trauma.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Maybe that's why he was such a predator, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was just he used to force orgasms out of people. So I'm almost wondering if he was into like sort of something more sinister and weird. But I literally saw
force an orgasm. What do you mean by that? How did he force orgasm?
Like he'd use like a massage thing, like a massage tool, and just.
Oh, I see. I understand. Okay.
And that's the other thing. It's like, as a billionaire who's a pervert, he didn't have sex toys or like little gimp outfits or anything weird like that. All he wanted to do was use, and it was like a back massaging device, like a strong, those things you use on your back, like a strong massage.
Yeah.
He put that on us. Well, he did it to me. I don't know if he did. But
so he forced himself on you, obviously, or did you, or you in a position where you just felt like
he would try. He tried to all the time, but he was more into teaching how to give a blowjob. Like he told me to just suck it like a lollipop, because I didn't know how to do a blowjob. I was sorry, I don't want my neighbors hearing. I was very young.
No, I understand.
I didn't, and he was trying to sort of show things like that, and also, for a billionaire, you would have expected him to have like beautiful supermodel girlfriends. Or if he was really into sex, why didn't he get professionals in? Why did he get like young, innocent, naive girls who don't know what they're doing?
Yeah. Do you think there was something like, there's a lot of folks, you hear these allegations that Jeffrey Epstein worked for Mossad, or this was all meant to get.
He told me he worked for CIA.
He told you CIA, not Mossad.
Well, CIA works with Mossad, don't they? I mean, before I was sent home the first time, he told me he worked for CIA. He had my family's name on a list. And he said that a girl who accused him of rape, he planted drugs in her apartment and had her sent to prison. And CIA and
what
Mossad,
a
I mean,
sick
Mossad,
person.
Maxwell, and Wexner, it's all the same group, you know, in a way. I mean, I'm not a professional on all that stuff at all. I don't know all that, but I do know that he was definitely working with Secret Service, and I also know that the FBI tried to fly my child and I there to interview me. They arranged us emergency visas, 5-star flights. I mean, first-class flights, 5-star hotels.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I wasn't able to travel, my child's father wouldn't let us travel. They didn't want to interview me anymore. So they didn't want to do it over Zoom. They only wanted to do it in person. And you know, this is another frightening thing, because all the girls who were represented by the same law firm as me, the David Boyes company, you know, the man who ate Microsoft, you know, he grilled Bill Gates on the stand. That's the lawyer who represented us. I mean, the main victims being represented by David Boyes was Virginia Gifford, Sarah Ransom, Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer, myself. These girls, I mean, Annie's doing very well. A lot of these girls aren't doing too well. Like, people are really suffering. I mean, Virginia's dead.
What was that? There was a class action with you guys. What was that settlement in total?
For which one? The JP Morgan one. That was a $290 million settlement. Apparently the lawyers took half the money. I was given $1 million, which I'm very grateful for. But I would also like to know where all the other victims are, because there were apparently over 200 victims that claimed from the fund, and I'd like to know where they are. You know, why are more people not speaking out? What's going on here? And a lot of the victims have been fighting each other. I mean, even Virginia Gifford had a lawsuit against her by the girl, Rena O. You know,
did you meet Virginia? Did you know her personally?
Not in person, but we've spoken many times. We had like video chats together, like I'm speaking with you now. We did chats, you know, but not like online, but we had our own personal chats. We had a survivor sister group. I speak to Maria Farmer still. Maria Farmer's an amazing woman. I think she's been through a lot. Basically there are a lot of liars that have like come out in this whole case. And it's, I don't know, it's just been quite frightening. I actually don't even like leaving my house anymore.
Yeah, so you're still afraid for your life?
I've had scary things happen.
Such as?
I followed my car by a van. Last time I took my child to the beach, I came back and my tire had been slashed. That's happened twice, by the way, where my tire's been slashed. You know, as a single mom, it's not cool going out and having things like that happen. I've had many, many threats.
I'd like to go back if I could, because such a shock to me. I didn't ask more questions. This deal about Jeffrey Epstein shape-shifting, what did he look like? When he shifted, what was his appearance?
His head went bigger, like his head went a lot bigger like this, and then his eyes went really big like this, like big and black. And then there were like ridges on the head. You know, it wasn't like, you know, David Icke's spoken about the reptilians. It was different. And it was, I've painted it. I'll share it with you. I need to paint it more because I burnt that painting because I don't like seeing it. But he turned into something in front of my eyes. Like it was while he was orgasming. It was really, really. And when I looked at him, I was like, I in my mind, I was like, well, I just thought, what's going on? You know, I was freaked out. And then I decided to just look away, and I looked away. And then when I looked back, it was him again. But I saw it.
What about the hands and the other parts of the body? He
was under a blanket from here.
So you just saw the head. It
was the head part, and it went big like that with the ridges and the horns and the massive eyes.
And like scales, like reptilian scales?
Yes, yeah, like ridges and scales, like, yeah, exactly, like all around it. Yeah, and I've never seen anyone else turn into anything like that. And people say, oh, was I doing drugs? Epstein didn't allow drugs there. Like, you know, I smoke cigarettes. I wasn't even allowed to smoke cigarettes near. You had to smoke far away. And no alcohol, nothing around there. So if I was, I mean, maybe they drugged me. I don't know. But I saw this. And I've never seen anything like that again. But I've had nightmares and dreams of like demons coming at me around that same time. But I never saw anyone else turn into something like that. And the other weird thing is that, like, I was still around him for quite a long time after that, but I never looked at him and thought, hey, why did I see this happen? It almost created like a brain fog. It was like such shock. I was in such shock, and I couldn't tell anyone what had happened. And I didn't know what to make of it, to be honest. It's like we start questioning ourselves, like, what am I seeing? But I know what I saw.
Yeah. Have you ever shared that with a therapist or a professional of any kind?
Yeah, I have. One of the therapists I was seeing was saying, oh, when a young girl's scared in a room and she thinks she sees a monster, maybe that's it.
Tried to explain it away because of fear.
Yeah, but I know what I saw. I know exactly
Yeah.
what I saw.
Hey, no one knows your experience better than you. So, and you're not the first to report on these reptilians. I've seen reports everywhere about them. So, nothing's hard to believe in this day and age.
I understand why it scares people, because it's like, how does this make sense? We live in a sort of 3D world, but it's actually a 5D world, or a 60 or 70. There are many other dimensions.
Well, they say there's so many dimensions, but our brains don't have the capacity, because we only use a small percentage of, I think we use like 16% of our brains. So that we can actually perceive. If we could use all of our brain capacity, we could actually perceive the other dimensions there are around us.
You're completely right. We use only 12% of our brains, and it's
12. Okay.
Because when we're born, they start pruning our synapses through advertising, through food. They have all these ways. So I ended up doing.
We call that indoctrination.
Well, I did a lot of research after all this happened. That's why I started writing this book, to figure out what I saw there. And also, more happened in New Mexico. I have a flashback waking up in a laboratory when I was there with like a.
I'm going to ask you about this. Tell me this story. It fascinates me, because I did see this, but I did prepare for this part, because I watched a brief clip from someone else. You were speaking about this. I'm fascinated by it. You were unconscious and woke up in a laboratory. Can you just kind of explain how you became unconscious and go from there?
Well, I don't even know how I became unconscious. That's the frightening thing. I remember waking up and being like lying on a table and being paralyzed. And I woke up and I couldn't move. And I just got a terrible fucking fright. Sorry. Don't want to swear on your channel.
It's going to be on X. You're good. It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I was on a table, and there were like 6 doctors in hazmat suits standing around me, and then a female doctor behind my head. And my eyes opened, and I was like just freaked out, and I couldn't move, I couldn't speak or anything, and I was just completely freaked out. And then the female doctor came near my head, and she said, "Don't worry, everything's okay." And then I was out again. But that's a very like vivid thing that happened to me when I was there. I don't know how it happened. I don't know. I wish I could explain.
So this is in New Mexico. What were you doing in New Mexico? Was this on a Jeffrey Epstein job, a modeling job?
Well, he never gave me any modeling jobs. That's the other thing which is important to explain, is that, I wasn't paid money by him. He tried to get me to stay there. He was offering like $4,000 a month if I'd stay there, $2,000 for any young girls I'd bring to him. But I would obviously not do any of that. But what happened is, you see, after he took me the first time, I was broken. Like, and I was petrified, because he threatened me. He told me he worked with the CIA, had my family's name on a list. So he kept trying to take me back there, and I just didn't know what to do, because I'd been so shattered from the whole experience.
Why didn't you just leave and go and run away?
I was too scared, because I thought he'd come and try kill me. But I eventually managed to get away, slowly but surely. That's the thing. You don't escape a snake quickly. You do it slowly. You do it very slowly, without them realizing. Because if you escape a snake too quickly, they kill you.
Yeah. You when you woke up in this lab in New Mexico, I did hear you say that you believe that they were harvesting your eggs. Did I hear that correctly?
Well, yes, because at the time I obviously didn't realize that, because also before I was sent home, he laid me on a table and gave me like almost a pelvic exam. And just over time, like, I've read, because I've always, I obviously the whole experience just shook me very badly, and I didn't, I was never able to speak about it. But then obviously when Epstein died and reporters started contacting me, and then I was given settlement money, I had more time to sort of look into things and try work out what
Mhm.
these people were doing.
Mhm.
And it seems like they were doing genetic harvesting, stealing eggs. Cloning is real. A lot of people don't believe in cloning. If anyone doesn't believe in cloning, go wake up. Look, in 1996, they cloned a sheep.
Dolly, yeah.
I mean, come on. If they can clone a sheep, they can clone a human. So if anyone wants to argue human cloning, wake up.
Yeah. What do you
Uh,
think they're doing with the clones? What do you think the purpose is?
sorry. Don't it cut off. Sorry.
What do you think the purpose of the cloning is? What do you think they're doing with the clones that they're creating?
Um, Gosh, you could do a lot with a clone, couldn't you?
Yeah. Be like having a twin. Be two
Yeah.
places at
Well,
once.
think about celebrities. Think about the.
Double the money, double the fun.
Okay, let's go a bit further here. Okay, so Hollywood. Okay,
Hmm.
now why did Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and Jim Morrison all die within 10 months, all aged 27? Why did Bob Marley and John Lennon die within 6 months of each other? Suddenly, no more celebrities are dying. Suspicious. Except for people like Amy Winehouse. Well, now if they knock them off, they just replace them because it's a business. And I don't know this for a fact, but it makes sense. Because if you look back at the past and you realize, you know, what's been going on, like they say that Beyonce died in a car accident, Miley Cyrus died in a car accident, Beyonce suddenly became Sasha Fierce. There's a lot of weird stuff here, you
Yeah.
know. The celebrities, I mean, when you've got 10 men celebrities dying within 10 months, all those years ago, like,
Hmm. So a lot of people are going to watch this and go, "Well, these
I think
people are
it's
crazy. They don't think
down.
I'm crazy. They're going to think
Yeah,
you're crazy." What do you
fine.
say to people that when they hear this and they go, "Oh, these folks are crazy"? What would you say?
The world is crazy, guys. Wake up. I
you're
mean, look
you're
at your
100%
president.
right.
Your president's just a stupid actor, The Apprentice. You're fired.
Easy, easy. Hang on
Yeah.
the Trump
You want
guy.
to?
Oh my
I mean,
God,
coming
that's
from
hilarious.
Africa, like our presidency isn't much better. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think people need to do more thorough research. I think people need to realize that they're being farmed because you get pharmacies, which are actually pharmacies, begins with a P. Then you get
yeah,
pharmacy, which is the farm, which actually let food be their medicine. It's all about health, and over 70% of adult Americans are on pharmaceutical pills.
yeah.
And it's very dangerous. That's why you get these school shootings. Recently I spoke out against guns and people all attacked me. I was just shocked. I was like, it's horrible. I'm like, I said that there should be no guns, no bombs allowed. And then people attack me for it.
Yeah.
So it's
I
like,
think we're all entitled to our
what am I
opinion.
fighting
I
for,
think
God?
we should
What
you
am I
should just
fighting for?
yeah. Just because I don't like your opinion doesn't mean I don't respect your right to have it.
Yeah.
A lot of people online, they have someone like you and I are on really opposite sides. I grew up in the southern United States. You grew up in South Africa, I'm guessing. So I think it's lots of cultural differences as well. But if you don't share ideas with people who disagree with you, then you're never going to get anything accomplished. So though you and I may not agree on certain issues, I'm happy to have a conversation
Of
with
course.
you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what
And
that's what makes us human beings sentient beings, and I think that's why we are the dominant species on the planet because we're able to share ideas with each other without, mostly I think most intellectual folks, reasonable folks, can have a conversation with someone they disagree with. So I'm happy to do that. Now, as far as
yeah, you're right.
the hunting and all that, I grew up hunting. We always ate the meat, so
Yeah. I
it was
don't,
how we,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
I don't, exactly. I don't disagree with that. I just disagree with a million cows being murdered a day to for McDonald's where people aren't actually getting healthy.
Mm,
I'm a vegetarian out of choice. I don't mind if other people eat meat as long as it's done in a respectful way,
yeah.
you know.
Have you had this is really off topic, but have you had your like bone density checked from not eating meat? Because I said this a really one of the downsides, especially as you age, your bone, if you don't eat meat and get that meat protein, then your bone density can really become porous and brittle and stuff like that, and it can be damaging over time.
I think
Have you
my
had that?
fitness is fine. My mum's 74 and she's one of the most beautiful 74-year-olds you're ever gonna see. And my
Oh
mom's also
wow.
vegetarian. And
Has
she
she been a
smokes.
vegetarian her whole life?
Yeah, and she smokes. So,
I just thought that's funny.
and so do I. You know. But
Yeah,
anyway,
well,
that's the thing. I'm not here to
we
judge.
all have
Like
our vices, right?
need. I'm anti-killing. I'm anti-slaughter, and I'm anti brainwashing. You know, and
Yeah.
when 1 million cows are being killed a day and 4 million pigs are being killed a day, you've got to start wondering, like, what's going on here? Because I'm not anti people eating meat. If people want to eat meat, they must eat it. But it must be animals must be looked after. You can't just put them in a factory and you know, I'm also guilty because I have a bit of cheese here and there, and it's actually worse to have cheese than if you have meat
Yeah.
because
Causes
the
inflammation in
cows.
your body. I know
Do you
that.
know that cows to produce milk they have to be pregnant, so they keep them pregnant and they keep them
That's
strapped up on machines. I was actually a
yeah.
vegan for 7 years. I think I'm going back to vegan. But again, I never judge anyone. I'm just saying that if, you know, I understand animal produce and farm produce, but it must be done respectfully and properly.
What
Because
would
I
be your
think we,
solution then to feeding the world of nearly 8 billion people now? How would we, if we didn't slaughter cows every day, how would we feed people? How do you think?
well, I mean, it's actually a good question because, you know, one's also got to look at what if the shops shut down. But bananas. Bananas are an amazing thing to eat, but you can't make bananas everywhere. So this is actually an excellent question you've asked. I mean, rice. It's
Uh,
actually a very good question. It's a very
right,
good
but for
question.
meat eaters, because we as human beings, our bodies are designed for meat. That's why we have
Yeah.
incisors. Animals that have incisors are designed
We're
so our
omnivores.
bodies are meant to digest and use the nutrition from meat. So I guess I'm asking the question because there's a lot more meat eaters out there than vegans. How do we provide that much meat without
Yeah,
uh,
well, chickpeas, beans, and I know a lot of
uh,
people will be like, they're not interested in that kind of food.
right,
You
right.
know, I guess, do you know what? You've actually hit a very good point here because I guess in Africa it's a lot easier to be a vegetarian because we're able to source avocados, bananas, all sorts
Mhm.
of fruit and vegetables, raspberries, blueberries, at a better price than you pay for in America. They rip people off for food like that.
Oh my gosh,
You know.
avocados are so expensive here.
Oh gosh, no, oh my God, here I can get a whole bag of avocados for like $3.
Hmm.
Three less. No, not $3. Sorry, for $1. $1 I get a
Really?
bag of apples. Yep. Oh yeah. Take
Oh
it
my
first.
gosh.
$1.
Oh my gosh.
It's not
That
always
would
like
be.
that. That was on special, okay. Okay. But, actually, this is such a good point that you're bringing up, is that, you know, they don't make it easy for people to have other options. And I'm not
Mhm,
anti people eating meat, but they
mhm.
should have
You just want to be
like,
done in a
yeah.
humane fashion.
Well,
Humane
yes,
fashion.
exactly. Well, I don't think it's good when people are going and eating McDonald's and getting obese and getting
Yeah,
sick
is that even meat
because
really
it
though?
doesn't actually
McDonald's,
fill people
you
up.
know?
What happened to the man who did Supersize Me? Hey, you know
Yeah.
that man?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was a
He's
great
dead.
documentary.
Well, he's
Uh,
dead. You know that?
no.
Well, that man's dead now. So
He died? I
yes,
had
he's
no
dead.
idea that guy died. No, I didn't know that. I had no,
No, he's
no
dead.
clue that guy died. It was a great
No, he's
documentary.
dead.
But he only did it for 30 days, right? But the
Yeah, and
documentary
it
was
killed him. Anyway,
oh.
sorry. It's actually
Um,
just devastating because
so I hate
I
to
sent.
think we digress. So I don't want to leave people hanging on
Sorry.
this story. How did
Yeah.
you so we got to the lab, you woke up at the lab, you think they might have been harvesting your eggs, you think they may have been using it for cloning purposes.
Well, I know they
How
were
did
now. Oh, sorry.
what's that?
Sorry, no.
Oh,
I
you know
know
they
that
were?
they were now. Yes.
How do you know that? You're
Too
not a
much
clone, are you?
information. I'm not what?
I said, you're not a clone, are you?
I'm not. No, I'm definitely not. Apparently, you can't clone an Rh negative because I've got the different blood type. Apparently, you can only clone Rh positives. Well, that's what
Yeah.
they say. And then I fucking hope I'm not a clone.
Wouldn't that be something if you were
I mean,
cloning and you didn't
I
even
don't
know it?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Yeah, that'd be
freaky. It
another
is.
aspect
Do you
of
know
it.
what? I've thought about this before. Don't you worry. I'm like, shit. Did they kill me and clone me? Everything's gone through
Yeah,
my
how would you
mind.
know? How would you even know? How would you even
Well, I
know?
wouldn't. I
Yeah.
wouldn't know.
So how'd you get out of
Well, if
there?
they cloned me,
How did
they
you
did a
find
damn good job of it.
Hey, it's okay to toot your own horn every now and then, okay? Um,
I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying it looks like me. If they did it,
yeah,
looks like so.
yeah. Um, So how did you make it out? How did you get out of there? What happened that you finally were able to break free of this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing?
Well, the thing is, he was obviously offering me money to try and, get me to bring more girls to him and to stay there. And I wouldn't do any of that. And I also started putting on weight because he didn't like fat girls. So I realized that the easiest way to get out of there was to become a podger.
Mm. That's crafty. That's smart. That's smart. So he finally just got rid of you to the point because he got tired of you, didn't like the way you looked or something, and took you
Yeah,
away.
and I wasn't going along with this whole scheme, so I became
Yeah.
useless. Well, I mean, I'm assuming that's what happened. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he took all my eggs and then he knew that he'd done what he needed to do. I mean, I don't know. Ask him.
How long did your entire this span of time from the time you met Epstein to the time you finally got away? How long of a period of time was that?
18 months, and I spent 3 months around them altogether. Ghislaine Maxwell was there a lot of the time. They took me to all the properties. They took me to Palm Beach, Paris, Caribbean, New Mexico. I don't know if they had other properties, but they took me to all those ones.
So at none of these properties, at all of these properties, the only person you met that was high profile was Michael Bay, other than Epstein and Ghislaine
Yes.
Maxwell.
Yes, and otherwise there was the staff, but I saw at least 60 girls coming and going. There were always
60
girls.
girls.
Yeah, at least. There were girls coming and going all the time, but I didn't meet anyone high profile at the properties. They completely lied.
So you mentioned that you had been with them for a total of 3 months over an 18-month span. So was that you going back and forth from South Africa to meet with Epstein?
Yeah.
And
They
how were they able
lying.
to, yeah, and so what did they manipulate you into coming back even though you were terribly upset that by the interactions you had with them, you kept going back? What caused you to keep going back? Because I know people are going to
Well,
watch this and go, well, why did you
yeah,
keep going back?
no, I
You
know
know what I
people
mean?
ask that. Well,
Yeah.
do you know what? It almost created a sort of Stockholm syndrome around people like that. I'd like to see, anyone be kidnapped by Epstein and Maxwell for 2 weeks. No one's going to come back feeling the same. I was a young girl. I was broken, and it broke me so badly that I just sort of went along with it. I went along with anything because that's what they wanted us to do. So.
And you thought maybe eventually, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but did you think maybe eventually this would turn into something, a career for you, money for you, a future for you, and maybe your family, because you did grow up poor, maybe?
Well, you kept promising that, but the thing is, I was just so broken. Just, after he
Yeah.
took me there the first time, I was so broken. I couldn't even think about money, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you get abuse like that daily, it's like it breaks your soul, and like it's also a good question like you're asking, because for young girls who don't have a lot of money, just being in a place where there's food and stuff, it really made things a little easier to just have. Well, not easier, but just there was food in the kitchen, and I guess that's how he got a lot of young girls. So yes, it's actually too horrible what he's done to people. It's too much.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Because they preyed on people who were poor and weak. But guess what? I'm not weak anymore, and I'm not poor anymore either.
Well, good for you. Well, it sounds like you've really made yourself made a career for yourself, and you were able to escape it all. So good for you. I'm happy to hear that. You told me that you had always looked after your mom and granny too, your family. How long was that? Did you look after your mom and granny? Were they ill? What was that
Well,
all about?
my mum used to get bad asthma. I always looked after my mum, and she broke her hip also when I was 23. I always looked after my mum, but my mum is overseas with my brothers now because my brothers are spending time with my mum. But I really miss my mum. My mum always lived with me, but she's coming back soon. And yeah, I always looked after my granny, and so did my brothers. We always all sent money and food for my granny. My granny lived till she was 95. She's really an amazing, strong woman. Wow. And I think she's probably one of the people who helped me get through everything. And my granny was very sort of to the point, because when the Epstein story came out, she said, everyone's going to think you were his girlfriend. And I was so upset because I said, Granny, Why would you say that? Because she didn't realize, what had gone on, because I'd never spoken about it. And even I'm glad that my granny doesn't have to be here to see all the pain and all the shit that's coming out. But actually, I know my granny's always with me in spirit.
Well, yeah. Well, good for you. You talked about you wanted to discuss Iran and Israel. What's going on right now with Iran and Israel? What do you think about what's going on with Iran and Israel?
Well, I don't know much about politics, and I'm sure most other people don't either. So I don't think any of us should be judging. I think we should be standing up for good people and being anti-war and anti-bombs. And I can't believe that Trump's gone and bombed Iran. It puts everyone in America at great risk. And I just
there's that aspect of it as well. I don't like the idea of bombing anyone. I don't like the idea of putting our troops on the ground to fight. I don't want to put our young soldiers in harm ways. But then there's also the fact that Iran's been saying death to Israel and death to America for the last 30 years. And they were, according to intelligence report, 2 weeks away from having that nuclear bomb that they've been threatening to use on Israel. So it's really kind of a catch-22. What do you do? If you
no, what I'm going to tell you is that they
Iran
hidden somewhere else. Sorry,
what's that?
Cut off. Sorry, it cut off. So can you keep going? Sorry,
No, I was saying it's sort of a catch-22 because Iran's been threatening us and Israel for 30 years with a nuclear bomb. They're 2 weeks, according to intelligence reports, away from having that nuclear bomb. So what do you do if you hit them and destroy that capability? Maybe you save an entire nation of Israel. You save all of our U.S. soldiers on army bases, or you risk just destroying a nuclear facility. There may be some casualties, but it won't be massive casualties in that nuclear bunker to save a nuclear holocaust. So
yeah,
when you're a world leader, you have to weigh those options. Say that again.
Yeah, bombs will never all be kept in one place. The military is strategic. So
no, of course. I think there was 3 different bunkers they actually hit in Iran. So go ahead.
I've been getting a feeling for a long time that there's going to be a bomb in New York in June or July. And I got quite afraid when I saw that Baba Vanga, who's like a psychic from the past. A lot of people have been canceling their flights because there's something weird that's going to happen in June, July. And I've been saying this all year to my mum. I've got screenshots of messages where I've been worried all year. And I didn't know this was going to come, but there's something very, very serious that's about to happen.
Why do you think New York, and why June or July?
Well, I don't know. That's just what I felt.
Just a personal feeling. You have nothing you read.
I'm a spiritual person, and I feel things. I'm not like a psychic, like schizophrenic who hears things. I get feelings of things.
Right. Sort of an intuition.
Yeah, and I've had this feeling for a long time that there's going to be something bad happening in New York in June or July.
Yeah. Well, I hope not. Iran retaliated today. They hit some bases in Qatar. Qatar apparently was able to wipe out the missiles before they actually hit the bases, which I think was just a response from Iran to say, look, we fired back. So now we can I think maybe now cooler heads can prevail now that Iran's tried to attack us back.
As long as it's not a bomb.
Yeah. No, hopefully it won't be a bomb. So yeah, I think that Iran attacking us back was just sort of a retaliatory response that they had to do to save face and show the world that they weren't afraid. And so now that we can all go back to negotiating and hopefully negotiate a peaceful outcome. I don't think
what's everyone's negotiating here?
Well, I think we want to negotiate Iran not having a nuclear bomb. Period. Not allowing Iran to have a nuclear weapon.
What about Russia?
Well, Russia's had nuclear weapons as long as we have them. They've never done anything with them, right? So I don't see Russia as the threat that Iran. The thing about Iran is they are motivated by their theology. They're motivated by Islam. They believe that they're called by God to eliminate everyone on earth except for Muslims. Yeah. So that's why Iran is so dangerous.
So they're not even but now if Trump bombed their nuclear station, why did the nuclear bombs not go off? Because if you bomb nuclear bombs, it's going to make a big bomb.
Well, yeah, if it's a bomb, but what the fissile material is what they were after, the 60s or the 90% enriched uranium. So in order for it to be, it has to be weaponized in order for it to just explode like that. You're not going to get an explosion nuclear explosion just from yellow cake uranium or the fissile material. It's got to be.
So then where are the nuclear bombs? Because apparently, obviously they weren't there, because if they bombed the nuclear bombs, it would have been a bigger bomb.
Well, they bombed the silos. We don't know that they had the warheads completely equipped.
Complete.
Correct. So in
Yeah, but
order
science
for
is science. You get the chemicals and they explode. So if
right,
they
but they have to be
bombed
rigged to
the
do that. So
part,
what they have is the enriched uranium that they need in order to put in a nuclear weapon that will detonate. So you just got nuclear certain. I'm not a physicist, but certain things need to happen,
no,
right, in order to create a nuclear explosion, not just having uranium on hand, right? Because radioactive material
uranium. You mean
occurs.
uranium? It's uranium or
We say
uranium?
uranium in
All
the
right.
U.S.
Well, I
Yeah.
think it's Iran.
So
Uranium. No, it's
uranium in
uranium. I know it's
nature is not
uranium. I'm
just
just
going
saying
to
uranium.
explode because it gets hit by a bomb, by a
Okay.
missile, right?
But now, when people are going to war, surely they're going to have a few bases. They're not just going to have one. So, I mean, it's great that Trump's bombed the base, but what about the other
Three
bases?
bases, three different bases,
Three
three different
that
bases.
he
Yeah,
that they have. You see, I don't know enough about all this to even
yeah.
discuss it. I wish I knew more, but I don't agree with war, and I know the media lies, and I think Trump's an actor. I also think what's happened with him and Elon Musk recently was quite weird.
Well,
He's made a
Ronald
lot
Reagan
of
was an actor, and he's one of the greatest presidents we ever had. So I don't
yeah.
discount his presidency just because he was
Makes
on
sense.
The Apprentice. As a matter of fact, if you look back at Trump 30, 40 years ago on talk shows, the things he said, because he's always been a very political person, he's always talked about politics. If you look at interviews of Trump 30 to 40 years ago, everything that he's put into play as president are the same things he was saying 30 years ago. So he's never changed his opinion on the direction he believes that America needs to go and then the world needs to go in order for us all to prosper. So he's not one of these guys who flip flops just based on the direction of the winds. You can actually see evidence of this guy for 30, 40 years saying exactly what he's saying today. So a
Well,
lot of politicians, they'll change
but
just
let me
based upon
okay.
the popular
Then answer
opinion,
this to me, Dom. Okay, so where's the Epstein list? Because he promised it with his presidency, and it's been like nearly
Well,
300
one of the
days
things you have to
now.
keep in
There's
mind,
nothing.
this is a question. Yeah, this is a question you hear a lot, but one of the things you have to keep in mind when you're going through a list like that and you're working on a case like that. So, say Kash Patel, our FBI director, and Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, they get into office and immediately they go and they get this Epstein list and they release it to
That's
everybody
a
without.
gangster. Sorry. You're
I'm
going to see
sorry.
it all
Yeah,
over his face. It's gangster. But I
yeah.
come from
So
South Africa. I like gangsters, don't, well, I don't like gangsters. Don't get me wrong here.
no, I
You know,
get it. So the thing is, if they go in and they release this list without crossing their T's and dotting all their I's, they release this list to the public. Well, there's a really good chance they're going to do something wrong from a legal perspective, and every person who was a predator on that list will get off scot-free because of some legal technicality, because they just rushed it out there to the public. So what they're doing right now is their due diligence behind the scenes to make sure they check off all the legal hurdles that they need to go through in order to do this thing legally. Because if it goes to court and they didn't do everything wrong, they violated someone's rights on that list because they rushed out this list, then that person's going to get off scot-free. So what they're doing right now is they're doing their due diligence, and they'll release the list later once they've done all that, so that they can these people will be punished to the full extent of the law.
well, let's hope that's the case. Because coming from South Africa, I haven't been led to trust the government. I live in a place where the government has really caused a lot of chaos. I mean,
Yeah, well, don't be under any illusions that we trust the government in the U.S. because we don't. It doesn't matter who the
uh,
president is, because as we know, we can see what the government tried to do to Trump as president in his first 4 years, the 4 years during Biden, what they tried to do to Trump, and we still don't know that the government swamp has been drained yet, because we still think there's people behind the scenes who are trying to contradict and go against everything Trump does. Um, so yeah, I'm under no illusions that our government is 100% on the up and up.
you're right. I mean,
So
I prefer Trump to Clinton because obviously Clinton was with Epstein when I was kidnapped.
yeah.
But I haven't met Trump and I don't know anything about him. But I just
Well, Trump's one of the only presidents, probably the only president, if I remember correctly, Is the only president whose net worth decreased because became president. If you look at people like Obama, who was he and his wife were nearly broke when he won the presidency. He's worth nearly $100 million today after his presidency. Really, almost immediately after he left office, his net worth was like hundreds. I think it was 80 million within a couple of years of getting out of
Yeah.
office. Biden's multimillionaire wealth increases. So what are they doing? Look at our politicians. Look at our congressmen, our senators. How they get paid $400,000 a year salary, but somehow they all have multiple properties and they're worth tens of millions of dollars somehow after they get into office. So yeah, I don't think anyone doubts that there's some corruption in government. In fact, we've already seen a few being prosecuted on this side of the pond.
Yeah, but what about Elon Musk now? He didn't need money to get into. He obviously funded Musk, it seems. He must have, because he's one of the richest men in the world. What's happened with Musk and Trump?
What do you mean he funded Musk? What do you mean he funded Musk?
Well,
Who funded
I'm
Musk?
I'm assuming that Musk helped to fund Trump getting into power, is what I.
Oh, he did. He did fund some of the campaign money. And
Yeah.
we appreciate that because he actually got Trump
That's like,
into
he's not
office.
making money. He's actually lost a lot of money here. And then Trump's just like, I don't know what's happened between the two of them, but it's also
Well, they both
suspicious.
lost money. They had a disagreement on some of Trump's policy. I think that Elon wasn't necessarily happy with. So they went for about a week or two, and they had a little spat. But all that's calmed down now, so I hope they get along because that was a great period for us. That period where they were working together on all of the Doge and getting rid of the government waste,
No, you're right. I was also
fraud.
liking that period. It was like South Africa and America were coming together,
Yeah,
and
it
yeah,
was
and
fantastic.
now
But I think there
crypto
was
has
just a
just
policy
plummeted. You want to
disagreement.
talk about crypto?
Yeah,
But
yeah. I just think it was a policy disagreement of some kind, where maybe perhaps Trump says it was related to the electric vehicle mandate. Elon says that's not the case. Elon says that he went a little too far on some of his posts about Trump because I think Elon one night he said that Trump was on the Epstein list, and then he comes out later and says I went too far there. So I think Elon is a big troll. I think he likes to troll people. I think he gets a kick out of it, and I think he was trolling Trump when he said Trump was on the Epstein list because then he came out and apologized and said no, I went too far. Um, I don't know. I just think things got out of hand there for a couple of weeks, and
who's
hopefully
richer?
they're.
Okay,
I'm
who's
sorry.
got more money, Musk or Trump?
Oh, Musk. Musk is the richest man in the
Okay,
world.
so who was born with all the money?
Trump's
Trump.
father had a lot of money and
That
loaned
Elon
him.
Musk is self-made. Trump is not. So
No, I don't
it's
disagree with you. Well, I
I
do dis.
always trust
I
self-made
will say
people better.
no. Yeah,
And I'm not on
I,
Musk's side. Okay, I'm not.
yeah. I'm not on a side either. I like both of them. I'm definitely I'm definitely a Trump guy, and I like Elon Musk. But I will tell you, Trump's father did loan him some money originally. I think it was about $10 million, which he now has turned into upwards of 5 to 10 billion, depending on who you believe. So, yeah, he was given some money, but he also was the largest real estate magnate in New York after that. So his father gave him a small loan comparatively that he turned into $5 billion. So
They
they're
didn't
still
have his
very
own money.
correct. So he's
But
still very successful in his
Musk is
own
still
right.
richer. Musk
Say
is
that
still
again.
richer, and Musk is richer and younger, and from South Africa.
Yeah, well, Musk did grow up in a different, and Musk is a great guy. I like Elon. I think he's a brilliant guy, and I think he
I was,
deserves everything he's got. And I think he's an American. I think he's an American patriot. So yeah, I'm not going to take anything away from Elon, but he did grow up in a different area, in a different field, the tech field, which, after the tech boom, there was the ability to make a hell of a lot more money than there was in real estate. So, um, just two different fields, and I think Trump did very well in his field. He was the premier real estate mogul in New York, and Elon
so
Musk is the
Trump is a
premier tech
salesman
guy.
and an actor. Trump's a salesman and an actor, and Elon Musk is a brilliant philanthropist. In fact, a man who's trying to make the world better. It seems,
No, I
or
think
actually,
Elon is brilliant.
that's that.
I think Trump's a brilliant man too. I mean, you can call him an actor and a salesman all you want, but he's a brilliant guy. He's a very smart guy. There's no doubt in my mind. Uh,
No, he is, of course, and of course,
yeah,
he's a very clever man.
and you don't
I'm
get to
not at
that
all.
level. You don't get to that level personally, privately, and politically unless you're brilliant. So yeah, I think they're
I'm
both
very
brilliant in their
disappointed
own
in
right.
him. and all of them.
Yeah, I didn't like it
They
either. I
were
don't
fine.
think any of us who are MAGA folks liked it at all because we would just love them being on the same
Are
team
you
together.
MAGA?
What's that?
Are you MAGA?
Yeah, of course.
Everyone thought I was MAGA too, but I'm not. I'm not anything like to do with that.
You may be, and
I
you
don't
just don't
believe
know
in
it.
governments.
Do you believe in individual liberty? Do you believe in private property,
I believe
ownership
in
of private
people.
property? What's
I
that?
believe in kindness. I believe in kindness. I believe in love. I'm not a politician. I'm not.
Well, yeah, but MAGA
Well,
believes in those things too. But what we do you believe in freedom of speech? That you should have the freedom to say whatever
yes,
you
of
want to say?
course. The
Okay.
media is full of shit. I mean, the media won't interview Epstein victims. If they won't
Uh-huh.
interview Epstein victims, then what about other victims? Victims who've
Yeah.
been hurt by other people. What about the hundreds of thousands of children that go missing every year?
Mm-hmm. You believe in freedom of religion?
Yes. Well, I don't like religion, to be honest. I
Right, but do you
believe.
believe that people should have the right to worship as
Yes.
they
Yes,
choose?
of course. As long as it
Right.
doesn't hurt anyone, of course. As
Mm-hmm.
long as people don't think they're above anyone else, fine.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
come from a long line of Catholics,
Yeah.
but
Do you believe
I don't practice to, I don't
do
go
you
to
believe
church.
in government intervention into your private life?
Government, what? Sorry, it cut off.
Do you believe in government intervention in your private life?
No, absolutely not. Unless it's
No.
absolutely necessary.
Yeah. Do
Unless
you
someone's
believe that
dead,
you should
like
be able
for
to
example.
go to work and retain most of your money? Do you believe in low taxes?
Well, obviously, but I believe that we need to pay tax to help those who are less fortunate. I very much believe in certain taxes, as
Mm,
long as the money's being spent the right way. I believe in
right.
that.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, you're MAGA.
Let me just charge my phone. It's going to go off. Scheiße, I'm a MAGA. I saw everyone's burning their MAGA hats today.
Yeah, nobody's burning. No,
Just find my
true
charger.
MAGAs aren't burning their MAGA hats. The media may be showing you people burning MAGA hats, but it ain't MAGA. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, I am more for Donald Trump and stuff. I'm just like very upset about this bombing.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
see, like I said,
Well, we're all upset about the bombing. Nobody likes
and
war.
that's why it's
Nobody
probably
likes
not a good
war,
thing to
but
even interview me about. Sorry, I'm
if
looking
you
for my
look at
charger.
yeah, if you look at human history, I don't think war is going anywhere just because of human nature. So I don't think anybody likes it.
Yeah, well, it's not good for America, is what I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. I don't. I like what you're saying is I don't blame Trump because he's sort of just doing what he thinks is right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what we voted on him to do, and ultimately there can only be
Yeah.
one president. Can't all be president, and he knows. I have to put my faith in God, and I have to put my faith in the fact that he knows a lot more than I know about what's going on with all the resources that the government does have and intelligence. I think they know a hell of a lot more than us out here on social media speculating as to why he did it. I know Trump as an anti-war president. His first term, he's the only U.S. president in probably 50 years that didn't start any new wars. He was totally against war in his first presidency. He's anti-war his second presidency. But just like in his first presidency, this is a strike. This is not us at war with Iran. This is one strike to curtail Iran's ability to produce a nuclear weapon. Now, if you remember in Trump's first term, he also dropped missiles on Soleimani, who was one of the worst, most vile uh, uh, people they had. But that didn't start a war either. So all these people saying that, oh, we're in a war, that we're not in a war. It was one missile strike in order to deter something far worse from happening. So um, yeah, that's where we're at, and I just hope cooler heads prevail, and maybe they'll negotiate something long term for this.
Yeah, and hopefully that they finally release the Epstein list at some point.
I think they will. That was promised. I don't think Trump's going to leave office without it being released. I think that they just want to make sure that they do everything um, within the law. You know what I mean? Constitutionally, everything's constitutional, and they do it by the books, and none of these predators and vile people get away.
Well, I guess time will tell, right? So how long are we
Yeah,
going to give him to do this? Or are we
I
going to have
think
to
we just
wait
have to be
hundreds of
patient. I
years?
think it's going to come out when it's going to come out. I would hope by the time I'm willing to give them till the end of Trump's presidency, as long as we know that they're doing the right thing. as long as they're, what we want is retribution, and make sure these folks have the full extent of the punishment within the law that they're supposed to get. We can all rush it out just so that we know the names, and then, oh, we know the names, but now they're not getting punished because they rushed the list out and they did something wrong. I don't want that. I would rather sit here and stew about why don't they have the list out, and know that behind the scenes they're trying to get it all factually correct and legally correct before they release it to us, and know that the people are going to suffer the punishment that they deserve for all the crimes that they committed. That's where I'm at. So I'm willing to be patient at least until the end of Trump's presidency, hopefully before his presidency, that it will be released. And I have faith that that will happen. Of course, I would
But I
like
mean,
for
he was
to be soon.
president before. Why didn't he sort this out when he was president last time?
When he was president during his first time, I don't think it was quite the issue that it is now. I don't think it was quite as, and if you look at it, I know that you have a
It is
personal
the issue.
stake.
I was kidnapped by them 22 years ago. Trump's been president and within that time.
No,
So
I
he should
totally
have
understand
worked
that, and
out
I
earlier.
understand that for you, it's personal. So I understand that for you, it could be like a huge issue. But if you look at the grand scheme of the world, potential nuclear wars, countries going down, and all this, I think in the grand scheme of things, right now, Trump has a lot more on his plate to deal with from a global perspective
Well, you're right.
than the Epstein list. You know what I mean? So I think that's why it's sort of maybe on the, I won't say the back burner. I think it's definitely in the forefront of thought. I just don't think it's the primary issue he has to deal with on a daily basis right now, given the global scale of humanity right now. You
But
know what I
they
mean?
promised that. Like, that was how they gained presidency. They said, we're
No,
going
and
to
I think it's no, and I think it's
and
coming
people
because everything
voted for
Trump
them for that
promises.
reason.
I agree, and I think it's coming. I think Trump is one to do what he says during his campaigns. If you look at his first presidency, everything he campaigned on, he did when he was in office. He curtailed immigration. He built the wall, built as much of it as Congress would allow him to build. And so all the things that he said he would do, he did, and he's known for that. He's known for being the guy that says, if I say I'll do this, when I get in office, it'll be done. So he did say he would get that list released. He said he'd get the documents on
Yeah, so
Kennedy's
let's hope he
assassination.
does it. Like you
Yeah,
say, he does what he says.
yeah, I think he will. I think he will. He
does
said he would
soon.
get the. He said he would release everything on the Kennedy assassination. He did that. So, yeah, I think we just got to be
Well, what
patient.
did he
And
release that we didn't already know? I didn't hear any new news on the Kennedy assassination.
I don't think there was any different outcome. There was a lot of new minutia in there that we didn't know. You would have to read the thousands of pages of documents in order to know exactly all the differences. But yeah, there was tons of stuff released that we didn't know. It just didn't really change the outcome overall of who
So it's good.
who they want us to think.
The Epstein
Want us
list,
to
it's like,
think did
okay,
it.
they'll release the flight logs, and it's like, okay, make of it what you want yourselves.
Yeah. No, I get it. I totally see it from your perspective. You are a victim in this. So I wanted to come out for your sake as quick as possible.
We're
I
all
just think you have
victims
to
in
be,
this, Tom.
but
We're all
ultimately
victims in this. They've
you
lied
want
to us
people to
all.
be right. But ultimately you want people to be punished more so than get an expedient
I don't want
release of
anyone
the list.
punished. I don't want them punished. I just don't want them hurting people anymore.
Well, that's why you punish people, so that they don't hurt people anymore. People don't get punishment, then they continue to hurt. That's why we punish people.
Well, I don't believe in punishing. I believe in love and light. And I believe that everyone should just wake up and become better people. And then we live in a better world.
That's great in the land of unicorns and rainbows, but unfortunately we live in the real world.
Care bears. Yeah, well, that's the land I love. That's my land.
Hey, I want to live there too, man. But unfortunately, I think the people who committed the crimes who are on the Epstein list, they're not going to stop unless they learn the lesson. The only way you can teach lessons is to punish them. You know, take them to court, make sure they get justice. So, and really, the girls need justice.
So like there've only about 5 girls who've testified against these bastards, and 2 of them are dead. Carolyn Adriano. There were 3 girls who testified against Maxwell. Carolyn Adriano was found dead.
Mm-hmm.
With Epstein, there weren't many who actually testified. Virginia Gifford is dead. So,
she was
going, and
do you think the royals had anything to do with the Guthrie's death?
It's possible. I mean, I don't know. It's just been very, very frightening, very, very tragic, and very distressing. There's 7 Epstein victims who've been found dead, actually, I'll tell you.
7 total.
Yes, that I've heard of.
Wow.
Yeah, and it doesn't make the news. So,
Was foul play suspected in any of those, or were they all suicides?
Oh, was who expected? Sorry, Don?
I said, was there any foul play suspected in those deaths, or were they all suicides?
Yeah, I know. Well, they were all odd. Like girls being found dead in hotel rooms from drug overdoses. It's all suspicious. None of them just suddenly had a car accident, except for Virginia, who had a car accident and then was later killed herself, apparently. It's just been very, very frightening, and I understand if Trump needs to deal with his war first, fine. But the thing is, the real war here is the war against good and evil. And I don't think bombing other countries helps anyone. I think he should be focusing on helping the people in his own country. Also stopping this trans movement where people are all boys are girls and girls are boys. And I'm not speaking out against people who have that sort of thing. But they're promoting it. You've got people like Angelina Jolie, Megan Fox, Charlize Theron, all the most beautiful actresses have got trans children. It's not normal. We all know it's not normal.
So you are MAGA.
I'm not anti-trans.
You are MAGA. I hate to tell you, you're MAGA, 100%. Yeah.
He saved me. I'm joking. Well, I don't care about bombing Moran. Well, I've been kicked out of MAGA. Everyone hates me.
Yeah.
Everyone thought
we
I was
even have some.
now
We even have some vegan MAGAs, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll just tell Trump's sons to stop killing leopards and lions and.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't like the hunting, do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't.
I think that's a cultural.
If someone's killing an animal because their tribe is hungry, fine. But if you're killing an animal as a prize, no, I don't agree with it. If you're going to fucking shoot a lion and then stand there proudly with the dead body next to you, that's serial killer. I mean, that's disgusting. It's a killer. I cannot.
Yeah, if I remember right, they do donate some of that meat to the hungry. If I remember right, you have to check me on that. I believe I saw
the
that
leopard
somewhere.
meat. Well, guess what? Even our tribes here wouldn't want to eat leopard meat because the tribes here have got, better.
I don't know about leopard meat. I don't know about leopard meat.
Well, they killed leopards and stuff. There are all these horrible pictures of Trump's sons killing animals, and it's like anyway, whatever. I'm not a judgy person. I'm just like, I don't like that. It upsets me very badly. I mean, look, here's my little lion, Bat Cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love animals.
Is he laying on a bearskin rug? Is that a bearskin rug he's laying on?
No, it's not bearskin. It's artificial.
I'm just messing with you.
I'm just messing with you. Bearskin rug.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, before I get out of here and I let you go, we did when we talked about doing this. You said you wanted to do something to help girls who may be in your situation or other folks
and boys
who may have been victims.
Not just girls. I'm not a feminist. Don't get me wrong here. I'm most certainly not a feminist. I stand up for all people who've been abused. And I actually, in a way, want to stand up more for men who've been abused. Because I think men who've been abused, that it's too hard for men to cry or say that they've been abused. So I stand up for men and women.
Good for you. Good for you. Say so MAGA.
Yeah,
all this MAGA is just
and I'm not anti-Trump.
oozing out of you.
I'm a MAGA.
Everything you say is MAGA, just so you know.
It's my MAGA hat. I need a hat.
Yeah. But I want to give you the opportunity right now. Is there any advice you'd like to give, anything you'd like to say to folks out there who may be victims like yourself?
Yes.
To help them get through it? Yeah.
Well, if anyone ever hurts you, never keep quiet about it. Speak to someone that you trust. Find a good network of people to help you especially if you're trapped in a situation. First of all, get strong and healthy and just find the right people to help you, because there are people out there who want to help, and no one should be abused by anyone. And I know that there's so much abuse that happens in this world, and if a lot of people get abused by their families or by friends or by strangers. Never be ashamed. If you're abused, never be ashamed. Stand up and stop the person before they hurt someone else. Because that's what it's about. stopping them from hurting anyone else. And as shaming as it is, be ashamed, because guess what? We're all here in this world, and there's no, I mean, don't feel ashamed, but like, fuck being ashamed is what I want to say. Fuck it. Because we're all here in this world, and we've got to help each other. Because don't let your shame of being hurt stop you from helping someone else. Because standing up and being strong really does help other people. As hard as it is, it's a chain reaction. So just stand up and do the right thing, get help, find the right person to help, the right people, and expose these people who hurt others. Because there's strength in numbers. And you don't need to be scared of them, even if they're a president or no matter who they are. If you have the right people around you to help, you're safe.
Juliette Bryant, thank you so much. It's very brave of you to come on and tell your story. I really appreciate it. It was so great talking to you and great meeting you.
You too. Thank you so much for having me on. That cat would like to say goodbye.
Bye, kitty. Thank you so much. Thank you all for watching The Real Beef. I'm Don Keith. Take care. We'll see you next time.